Hello everyone, nice to have you back for another episode of our 107 channel. Today's sequence in our KE-Jetronic chapter. Today's topic, we change the sealing of the plunger which is sitting at the bottom of our fuel divider. This one here is one from a V8 M117 engine, already equipped with an air mass sensor, running rich, black smoke, smelling fuel in the cabin. This could be the reason for all this. How to remove that seal will be shown right after introduction. All auxiliary components, all fuel lines being disconnected already, cold start fuel line removed, this one here. Electro-hydraulic actuator is already gone as well, potentiometer gone as well. Fuel divider is being held in place with these 3 bolts. Only 3 bolts, off they go. Later on, when reassembling, you cannot go wrong. If you remount it the wrong way, the lines would not fit in length, so foolproof actually. Just for once the engineers showed mercy on us. There is a groove in that octagon where the sleeve of the CO regulating screw is sitting. Once the 3 bolts have been removed, you lift the divider vertically off its seat. Wiggle to the right, wiggle to the left because of a sealing O-ring which is sitting tightly. This one here is the plunger protruding from its sleeve. Now you need to mark the position, the number of millimeters precisely which the plunger is sticking out of from the sleeve, in order to have the identical parameters as before when reassembling. This is crucial. Consequently, the plunger does not touch its counterpart. Nothing will happen. Car would not move an inch. This one here is not needed for the time being. It usually stays in position on top of the engine block anyway. Instead of marking it with a marker, we simply take measure. As mentioned, we take a caliper and measure the distance from the top of the plunger to the rim of the sleeve. Put the assembly sideways so the plunger does not sink into the sleeve and you would measure something odd. Please be careful and do not, by mistake or ignorance, change position of the plunger with your tip of the caliper. Push out the tip of the caliper way longer than needed, then push the edge of the caliper slowly towards the tip of the plunger without touching it. Here we go, 6.5 millimeters. .5 millimeter distance from tip of plunger to rim of sleeve. You could mark the position with a marker as well, but I think measuring the distance is good enough with a caliper. Later on, when reassembling the components, we will measure it again. A generic caliper we do, nothing special needed. The sleeve has 2 notches which we will unbolt in a minute. Below that is the O-ring seal which we want to change. To loosen that sleeve, you either have a specially designed tool or you use generic pointed pliers. It works just as well. Here we go, it turns nicely. Here it is, this is the sleeve. The plunger remains in place, see? This seal here has to be changed. Only use a petrol-proof O-ring. It comes off quite easily. Here we go, this here is the new one. Make sure it is not twisted. It has to sit snugly and evenly in that groove. Take your time, this is actually a job for a watchmaker. Try not to touch the plunger. Screw it on carefully, use your hands for the first couple of turns. Put it sideways, you will see it is a lot easier. The last turns will be done with the pointed pliers. Bolt it in tightly till you reach your 6.5 millimeters of distance. Two millimeters missing, let me tighten that sleeve some more. Well, a quarter of a turn still needed. Perfect, 6.5 millimeters precisely. Lovely. Let us reassemble. Why is this also important? Why all the fuss about that plunger in the first place? Why measure right down to a half of a millimeter? Well, the fuel divider is sitting here. The plunger is being pushed by that metal drum which is sitting sideways. When I press down the baffle plate, which is sitting on one end of, let me say, a balance, and the other end is this drum, which is altering the position of the plunger by pressing against it. The plunger is then opening or closing the 8 ports to the fuel lines, which lead to the 8 injectors, so controlling the amount of petrol being injected. So if the parameters are wrong, you either get too much, too little, or worst case, no petrol at all, if the drum is not touching the plunger at all. This is why I'm hammering away with this topic. Here we go, assembling time. This groove in that octagon has to go where the sleeve of the CO regulating screw is mounted. Make sure that plunger is not touching the housing. I know you hate me for that and being so obnoxious. Press it firmly on the housing. We put our 3 bolts back in place, tighten them firmly. This is it, we just changed the O-ring seal of the plunger in the fuel divider of an 8-cylinder M117 engine with KE-Jetronic. Let me brag a little. All this knowledge is in my handbook, you can buy it actually. Secrets of KE-Jetronic. A link to the video description is below. I strongly suggest you become a member of my channel to support my tedious work here. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. See you next time for another episode. Bye bye everyone.